Apex predators like lions sit at the very top of the food chain and are some of the most dangerous creatures known to man. Here are 30 encounters that show why you should never mess with them. Missouri black snakes are some of the largest snakes found in the region, and they can be very tricky to deal with because they don't like being manhandled. So this ranger's got a tough job to do here. He needs to be extremely careful, as one wrong move could end with him getting bitten by the snake. Now, they're not venomous, but that doesn't mean they're not deadly, since they can kill their prey by constriction. The snake's clearly not happy about being captured as it tries to wriggle its way out of the containment box. However, the park ranger has everything under control, and he's going to return it to a safe place.
Snakes are like cats. Suckers huge. They're the double spawn.
Good Lord.
Let's head over to Pilanesberg National Park, where these tourists are out on their first walking safari. They're out in the open, taking in the sights, when they spot a visitor that's stalking them from a distance. Yep, it's a lion. Luckily, the tourists are with armed guides, so they're not in immediate danger. At the same time, though, lions are very good at pouncing on you when you least expect them to, so everyone needs to be on their guard and keep their eyes on the beast at all times.
Okay.
The lion's definitely eyeing them up for an attack and doesn't want to leave the area. However, it can't attack either because it knows the guides have guns on them. So the whole thing turns into this drawn-out standoff. But the king of the jungle only has so much time on his hands, so it leaves the tourists alone after a while.
Come everybody closer.
This bear cub has strayed too far from its home and needs to return to its family, so the park rangers are out to help it on its way. The fact that there's not an adult bear doesn't make this encounter safe, though, as bear cubs always tend to have their mother keeping an eye on them. One wrong move from the ranger could result in a devastating attack here. The cub isn't intimidated by the ranger at all and refuses to move out of the bushes. The ranger's got this covered as he throws some rocks at the bear to scare it and push it back further into the valley. These photographers are out in Rwanda trying to get close-range shots of some mountain gorillas. These guys are one of the world's largest living primates and are an endangered species, which makes this a very special encounter for everyone involved. But the gorillas aren't exactly thrilled with all these people invading their home, so much so that one of the bigger gorillas starts growling at the photographers. The worst, however, is yet to come. In one quick move, the gorilla snatches one of the guides from the ground and drags him along the ground with it. The guide makes his body limp to avoid an attack. But things could have gone very wrong here. This is a terrifying situation at Kruger National Park, where a herd of elephants is coming right at these tourists. They're trying their best to remain calm and not antagonize the elephants, but that's not going to help them, because some of these massive creatures are in a very bad mood and want to charge the tourists.
Come on. Thank you.
Even though they have armed guides with them, the sheer number of elephants is just too much for the tourists to mount a defense. Thankfully, most of the beasts do heed the guide's warnings, though, and move away. But the danger hasn't subsided just yet. One elephant breaks away from the herd and starts charging the tourists. In fact, at one point, the guides even come close to shooting the beast.
Hey! Go! Get! Hey!
Over in Kenya, this lion has somehow managed to escape the confines of the safari reserves, and now it's loose on the outskirts of Nairobi. It's a dangerous situation for everyone involved, and the wildlife rangers will have to take some drastic action here. The lion's clearly not happy to be here and is displaying some very erratic behavior, running around and attacking people. Of course, the rangers aren't going to sit there and watch this happen, so they open fire on the big cat. The lion does manage to evade the first few shots, but sadly, the king of the jungle is surrounded by a mob of people, meaning it has to be put down in what can only be described as an incredibly tragic incident. Let's switch gears and check out this bizarre situation in Colorado as a bear has broken into a truck and locked itself in. To make matters worse, the bear's been wreaking havoc inside the vehicle. The park ranger's here to let the bear out, but here's the tricky bit. The ranger has to unlock the door, open it slightly, and then move to safety, all before the bear barges out of the truck. Now the bear keeps closing the door and isn't coming out of the truck, so unless the ranger actually opens it fully and puts himself in harm's way, there's no way he's getting that big guy out of there. That was close.
Get out of here. Get. Move. Go.
This bull elephant has ventured way out of its territory, so much so that it's actually entering a residential area now. And if there's one thing we've learned about elephants, it's that they can be really unpredictable and dangerous, especially around people. With that said, this elephant looks calm, so there's no need to take any drastic measures right now. Instead, the rangers are trying to shepherd it away from town using their jeeps. But of course, that's easier said than done. The elephant doesn't want to leave the area and is getting frustrated by all the roadblocks. The rangers have done a great job of surrounding it though, so once it runs out of places to go, the elephant has to walk back to the sanctuary. There's a very long traffic jam here, and it's all because of this absolute unit of a bison which refuses to get off the road. Now, bison are very unpredictable animals and can absolutely wreck a car if they get mad, so it's best to keep your distance and let them move on their own. Since the situation here is pretty bad, the rangers have decided to step in and shepherd it away.
Let's go.
There's a lion lurking in the distance, ready to pounce on any unwary tourists who make the mistake of turning their back on it. And to make things even more dangerous, the king of the jungle is growling at the tourists, which means he's mad. The tourists do have armed guides with them, but sometimes even that isn't enough to save you from the wrath of an angry lion. And in the blink of an eye, the lion goes from 0 to 100, charging the tourists at full speed. But then it spots the guns and turns away in the nick of time. Let's head over to South Africa now, where this massive elephant is trying to charge some tourists. The beast is clearly upset about having its territory invaded, and things aren't looking particularly good for the tourists. Sure, they have a ranger with them, but there's only so much a guy can do. Besides, the elephant has scars on its head, meaning it's been through a lot and isn't afraid of anything at this point. But no matter how angry it is, the elephant's still incredibly smart and isn't going to dive headfirst into a dangerous situation. So after the ranger's warnings, the big guy decides not to attack the smug tourists. Moving one bison off the road is tricky enough, but what if there's an entire herd blocking the flow of traffic? Well, it turns out that's not much of a problem either, especially if you've got a ranger's car with a big speaker on it.
Yeah, there's something going on. More seriously than this.
Now, if it was anyone blaring their horn at the bison, then things could have gone south real easy. But since it's the rangers, using their specialized noise, the bison respond within seconds and start moving swiftly. They're such fascinating creatures, aren't they? Out of all the things you don't want to see in the wild, a grizzly bear has to be right up there at the top. This one in Alaska, however, just seems inquisitive and doesn't actually look harmful. But of course, looks can be deceptive. The guide has his gun ready in case of any emergencies, but he is also calming the bear down at the same time, making sure it walks back where it came from safely. The bear, on the other hand, looks to have sniffed something interesting on the tourists. Even though the bear tries to charge them a couple times, it's no match for the guide, who knows exactly how to deal with the situation.
No closer.
Hut! You get!
Speaking of dealing with the situation, this safari guide has somehow stopped the charging elephant by simply raising his hand.
Oh, guys. Oh!
We've all seen way too many instances of guides drawing their guns to deter elephants, but this guy has the technique nailed down because after that initial charge, the elephant doesn't even attempt another charge. In fact, the big guy actually calms down and retreats back into the jungle. Now that's impressive. This guy just parked his Jeep right in the middle of a safari because he spotted lion tracks on the ground, and now he's all set to follow that trail, not having a clue about the huge surprises waiting for him. As he walks up the dirt path following the tracks, he accidentally startles an entire pride of lions, hidden in plain sight behind the tall grass.
Follow the track with the cup. Oh, my word. Oh, my word. Okay, so everybody, we've just bumped into Pride of Lion.
The amazing thing is that the lions were there all along, and yet no one saw them until they stood up. This is one of the bravest park rangers you'll ever see, because she's up against not one, but 3 grizzly bears. Sure, these coastal bears aren't as dangerous as the ones you'd find in the jungle, but that doesn't make them docile either. In fact, these can be extremely deadly when they're provoked, so the ranger has to be very careful here. She does great, though, as she follows procedure to a T and keeps 3 brown bears at bay. This lion has broken away from its pride, and for some reason it doesn't want to go back. Now, that wouldn't be an issue under normal circumstances, but this guy is an integral part of the wildlife sanctuary and needs to stay with his family. That's not even the tricky bit, though, because this lion is also being very aggressive and is refusing to listen to its keeper. In fact, when the keeper approaches, it jumps up and tries to attack him. With that said, it doesn't take long for the keeper to take control of the situation, and send the king of the jungle back to the lioness. Now here's one of the most fascinating things you'll ever see. These elephants aren't just standing like that for no reason. They're actually guarding the forest rangers from their herd. The rangers are trying to connect with the younger wild elephants, but it's a tricky process because these big guys don't like being controlled like that. So the senior elephants in the herd are actually helping the officers with the process. Let's head over to Kruger National Park in South Africa, where this massive buffalo has found itself in a bit of a pickle. It's trapped in the swamp and can't seem to get out. But don't worry, the rangers are here to rescue it with their car. Well, it turns out the buffalo isn't happy about the rescue one bit and attacks the ranger's vehicle as soon as it gets out. Poor buffalo is clearly distressed and needs some time to calm down after all the turmoil it's been through. We've seen rangers use guns, their hands, and cars to move animals out of the way. But have you ever seen them use a whip? Well, this guy in Yellowstone has one, and he's using it to scare a black bear. The bear has wandered too close to the road, so the ranger's now swinging his whip around. It doesn't seem to be having an effect, though, as the bear looks just as puzzled as everyone else witnessing this scene. But eventually, the tactic does work as the bear retreats into the forest. Now, whether the whip actually worked or the bear just got bored, well, I guess we'll never know. A massive grizzly bear charging you has to be one of the most terrifying things ever. They're arguably the most dangerous animal you could encounter in a forest, and you never expect them to be this nimble either.
Oh, shut up.
This aggressive bear's getting a bit too close to the tourists, though, which means the ranger has to take drastic measures, and without hesitation, he fires a shot towards the beast.
Oh my gosh.
This is enough to send the bear running back into the woods, although sadly the bullet seems to have caught one of its legs. Now here is a classic battle between two male lions to see who's going to be king of the pride. They're both super hostile toward each other, but there's a problem. The tourist's jeep is caught in this heated confrontation with nowhere to go.
So we might have some action.
There's a barrier separating the two male lions, and they can't exactly get to each other. And well, since the safari vehicle's in the way, the lion charges the tourists. Thankfully, it doesn't recognize that there are people in the vehicle and only sees it as a big hunk of metal, so everyone's safe for the time being. These tourists have struck gold, as a family of bears has wandered awfully close to the road, giving everyone the perfect view of these majestic beasts. But of course, this also means that the tourists aren't very safe here.
Want to take a picture?
The park ranger's on standby, making sure the bears don't cross the line, but he's not using a gun or a whip to do his job. He's got another trick up his sleeve: bear spray. As soon as the bears try to get close to the tourists, the ranger whips out his spray and sends the whole bear family running up the hill. Speaking of unconventional ways to deter animals, Here's an elephant trying to emerge from the bushes and charge a group of tourists, but even though their guide has a gun on him, he opts for a very unexpected weapon: his hat.
You it. Hey.
Every time the elephant tries to charge, the guide takes off his hat and starts shouting, which for some bizarre reason actually works.
You it. Hey. Come on.
When the elephant stops responding to that tactic, the guide turns things up a notch and throws his hat down. And this works like a charm, sending the elephant back to where it came from.
Hey. You it. Come on. Up.
Let's head over to Thailand now, where an elephant has managed to breach the confines of the forest and has made its way to a road. But the park rangers are here to handle the situation before things get too out of hand. They're carefully maneuvering the car to ensure not only that the elephant doesn't get antagonized, but also that it doesn't obstruct the path or run into any traffic. It's a tricky job, but these guys know what they're doing. Once the elephant makes its way off the road, the rangers block the path with their car, which means this 10,000-pound beast has to go back home. Despite being the largest land mammals on the planet, elephants are surprisingly good at hiding themselves. And this one right here is the perfect example of this notion, as it stalks tourists from a distance, waiting for an opportunity to attack them. The elephant may not seem hostile, but the tourists and their guides have to be vigilant, because the second they turn their backs on this big guy, he's charging them for sure. The beast slowly creeps up on the tourists and initiates the attack once it's in the clear. But that's exactly why the guide's there, because as soon as he draws his gun, the elephant stops.
Hey, stop. Hey. Come now.
Not all elephants play nice in the wild, because this guy sees red in its eyes as it barrels toward the tourists and their guide. With that said, the beast's loud trumpet is perhaps even more terrifying than its movement.
Hey.
At this point, it's clear that the elephant isn't going to back down just by looking at the gun, so the guide actually has to fire a warning shot and shout to deter it.
Hey. Shut up.
After an intense back and forth between the elephant and the guide, the beast finally concedes and returns to the forest. Here's another tricky situation, as these guys have a stare down with a black bear that doesn't seem to care about their intimidation techniques. If anything, they've made the situation worse because now the bear's charging at them. They only have one choice: to pick up the gun and fire it. Although to be fair, it does send the bear running back into the woods. Continuing on the theme of bears, this guy has also escaped the confines of the forest and is now terrorizing people driving through the national park. Don't fall for its size, because this grizzly bear is perfectly capable of dealing some real damage, so a bunch of rangers have come out to deal with this threat. Once it clears the road, the rangers load up their guns and start the hazing process, which essentially means that they're shooting specialized bullets that don't deal any damage to the bear, but do give it a sting so it runs deeper into the woods. Here's a group of tourists trapped in a dangerous situation at Kruger Park. An elephant has spotted them from a distance, and now it's mad that they're trespassing in its territory. The elephant isn't attacking them right away, but judging by its demeanor, you can bet that it is preparing itself for a charge. Thankfully, the guides know this too and are ready to face the beast if it does decide to attack. The elephant doesn't even require a run-up to charge the tourists and is ready to attack within seconds. But of course, the guide is there to save the day. And after a couple more attempts at charging, the elephant finally gives up and goes back home.